Mm-hmm. It is Sunday, folks. We are making some wild salmon dilly salad today. So I'm using canned salmon tonight. I started looking or thinking about canned salmon when I was switching to the autoimmune protocol to heal my celiac disease. And I knew that I needed to be eating a lot more fish, but I didn't want to be going to the store all the time because I want to eat fish kind of fresh. So I started reading about canned salmon, which at first I was a little iffy about. Not super into canned fish, was never the biggest tuna fan, but so I started experimenting with canned salmon because it's very nutrient dense. So if you've heard me talk on my Instagram before about nutrient density, it means that there are a lot of nutrients per bite. So we hear about things like empty calories, things like white bread and refined sugars. So those are empty calories. Nutrient dense foods have full calories. So they have a lot of benefits per bite is kind of how I like to think about it. So when you're using canned salmon, there's two different options to when you're purchasing it. You can get the deboned, deskinned, or you can get it with bones and skin, which at first, again, a little bit of an ew factor, but it's all cooked in the can, and so it breaks down really easily and you never know it's there. And the bones and the skin have a ton of bonus nutrients. So there's a lot of calcium and other minerals in there. So I recommend going ahead with the skin and bones, and I'll show you when I mash it up that you can't even tell. The bones are going to show you just kind of like, I can't really see it, but they just disintegrate in your hand. So it is, a lot of extra nutrients, and you don't even really notice it. So I highly recommend. So we are making them in a little bit of a charcuterie board, which is just a fancy word for a snack plate. I am not using any meats today or cheeses, but you can definitely add that to the charcuterie board. I'm just using veggies and sweet potato toasts, which I'll talk to you about, and then my salmon dip. So we had a question, the red or the pink. It doesn't really matter which salmon you get. There are some ranges of prices. The number one thing you're looking for is the term wild caught. So it's more beneficial for the environment because fish are in their natural environment, and it is more nutrient dense, and it is better for us because sometimes fish that is raised in a farm is fed different things to like color their skin, or there is color added afterward. So we always want to go with wild caught, and that is somewhere on the can. Usually this is natural sea, but it says wild here. I know it's backwards for you, but that's the number one thing you're looking for. Otherwise, pink versus sockeye versus red is sort of up to you. Okay, so first things first, the sweet potato toast. So I am actually low on sweet potatoes. I thought I had one more, but just have this small one left. So I cooked some of these up, but I'm going to show you how to make them. So these are not, like, again, mindset is important. This is not a replacement for a cracker, but this is a vehicle for a delicious dip. So I make these sweet potato toasts with any kind of sweet potato. White is definitely my favorite because, as I've talked about this week, orange can get a little bit sweet for me, so I really like the white ones. So all I do is I cut them into thin slices, and I'm not making slices like thin enough to be a chip, for example, because they will kind of curl up a little bit. So I'm using maybe half of a centimeter, a little metric measurement. Doesn't have to be exact, but I'll show you. They have a little thickness, but they're not super thick or super thin. So I cut these up. I cut them on a diagonal so they're a little bit wider, but if you have a bigger sweet potato, you can cut it just straight. The major thing when we're making these is there's no oil, no salt. So I'm going to put them straight on a sheet pan, and so we're really just toasting them. If you have a toaster, a pop-up toaster, you can cut the sweet potato the long way and then put those directly in the toaster and then pop them up. So that, if you have a pop-up toaster, I do not, so I make these little like appetizer ones. So no salt, no oil. You can either put it on toast in your toaster oven or at 400, 425. And they don't take very long. So just like our pumpkin seeds from last week, I'm going to keep a close eye on them. Just put them right into my toaster oven. Again, no salt, no oil, just straight on the sheet pan. So when we're making the medallions, which I showed a video, or I made a video of this week, those you do use you do use oil and salt, and those you may notice don't have the same. This really retains kind of its rigidness, so it's better for a dip. Whereas the medallions, they get crispy on the edges, but overall it's a lot softer. So that's what happens when you use the oil versus when I'm toasting them dry. All right, so we're gonna get started on the salad. So I have most of my things prepped, and I'm gonna start first with the salmon and then add my avocado. So I think on my website I have to do the avocado first, but let's see. Okay, so I'm just pouring it into the can, and I have the skin and the bones in here, and I'm just gonna start mashing it with my fork. You can use a potato masher if you have one, but you want to do this before you start adding other things so that you make sure that the bones and the skin are really well mashed up. And we do want to be mixing it in really well with our avocado. So it's just, so that really you want it to resemble tuna fish. So I'm just kind of giving it a mash until it's a little bit crumbly. Then I'm going to add my avocado. And I'm going to do a full avocado. You could also sub this for mayo if that is more your style. It's not really my style. So this is going to give the fat that we need to get some nice flavor and creaminess. And it is going to help our salad come together as if it was something like a mayo tuna salad. My screen keeps going dark here. So I'm using both. This is a very fresh avocado, and I was very worried this morning that it wasn't going to be ripe enough, but I put it in a brown bag with some onions, and I put it somewhere where it would be kind of warm on my stovetop, and it got nice and soft. So that is a pro tip. If you, I've shared in my produce guides, if you need to, or onions give off a gas that ripen other produce, so it can come in handy if you need something to get softer, like an avocado. But otherwise, you want to make sure that your onions are stored somewhere else than all your other veggies. All right, so we have just the salmon and the avocado in here, and I'm smashing it together. So you can see it's still a little bit ripe. Sorry, you can see it's so the pieces are sticking together a little bit. Just takes a little bit of extra mashing, and once I add the lemon, then it's gonna really come together. But if you have a little bit more of a riper avocado, then it will just really smash up there. Yum. Okay, that's good for now, and then I'm gonna go back and add some lemon. So last week, I think I've used my microplane every single week, and you know, I'm not taking a step back. So I said last week that we wouldn't use it this week, but here I am again. So I'm just zesting the whole lemon, and I made this yesterday or the other day with just lemon juice from a jar, and it's my toaster. I can get out, I really like the Santa Cruz brand. It is by far my favorite. It tastes the most like real lemon. Rather than the one that comes in like the yellow plastic container, and that's usually in the grocery aisle. It just has a different flavor. So if you need to use the bottled, go with Santa Cruz, and it is it is like $6, I think. It's expensive, but it is actually cheaper than if you were going to buy fresh lemons. You get a lot more juice in there. So Zest is in there. Cutting my lemon, I'm going to juice it. And this is going to keep our avocado nice and green. My lovely juicer. Yes, the Santa Cruz juice does last forever in your fridge. It's really handy to have when you don't have lemons, especially growing up in Vermont. Sometimes lemons are just like really hard and you can't get any juice out of them, and yeah, it's not ideal. So this was a juicy lemon. This was a gift from my neighbor upstairs, so very thankful. Yeah, big Santa Cruz juice fans over there. So now we have the salmon, avocado, a lemon zest and lemon juice. And sometimes if I have a smaller lemon, then you might need to add a little bit of olive oil to get a nice consistency. But that was a very juicy lemon, so we're looking good here. I'm just continuing to smash those little avocado bits. But you can see it really does starting to look like some tuna fish. So I'm gonna let that sit on the side for a moment. I'm gonna check on my sweet potato toasts. Man, my screen keeps going dark. It makes me scared it's gonna go away. Okay, they need another minute. I'm just anxious about it from last time. Whoops. So here is the Santa Cruz lemon juice, if you haven't seen it. I know it's backwards, but this is what it looks like. Highly recommend, and it's organic. So, okay, this is going to the side, and we're going to chop up some dill. So dill comes... The bunches come in a real variety. Sometimes the dill bunches are really small and other times they're huge. So normally when I'll say use like half a bunch of herbs, dill is kind of an exception because the range is pretty wide. Also, it depends on how much you like dill. So I highly recommend using fresh dill, but you can also use dried, totally fine. And all you want to do is chop it up really nice and fine, and then you're going to add it to taste. My recipe says about 1/4 cup, and I normally just use a really big handful. So if you can see, what I did was folded the herbs into a bunch, and then I'm just running through it with my knife. I want to get them nice and small because I don't really want a huge hunk of dill. I want it to be nice and spread out through the whole thing. So I'm giving it a big old chop, and then these two things are gonna go right in. Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you. I diced up this red onion and into really small pieces, and that is I think I did a whole half, and that's also in the recipe. I say that it's a 1/4 onion, but I really love the red onion in here, so I kind of load it up. So this is how much dill. This is my normal way of measuring it. Nice solid handful here, about 1/4 cup. That is going in here. Yes, okay, so I've been thinking about doing a knife skills class, maybe a basic knife skills class, so maybe that would be good for Kian, perhaps. I know, it is scary to watch someone irresponsibly using a knife. It gives me a little bit of stress, although I watch like 7-year-olds do it, so I think I'm more scared of adults using a knife. All right, I'm checking out my sweet potato toasts. Okay, so the ones I cut super thin is getting a little bit toasty on the side, which is okay. If you have one that is getting brown like that, I'm gonna tuck it underneath one of the bigger ones so it doesn't continue to burn. So I just tucked it under there, and these are a little bit early, but there we go. We got a little bit of toasty action. And that's all you're looking for. You just want them to get toasted, kind of like a piece of bread. But again, this is not a replacement for a cracker or bread. This is just a vegetable vehicle for your salmon dip. So these are going to go back in for not very long, for maybe a minute, and I'm going to keep a close eye on them. right, so our salad is looking pretty good. We have canned salmon, avocado, lemon, zest and juice, red onion, and dill. And you know what? Let's put some salt in there. I have also put olives in here. You can put capers in here. You can put cucumbers right in here. I like to serve it with cucumbers. But now I'm just mixing it all together. You can add black pepper if you like. And that is really our whole salad. Now this salad, it's good if you can let it rest in the fridge and get it nice and cold for maybe 30 minutes to an hour. But this is best the same day. So this makes a lot of salad. So it's good to split with someone or to save for later. And you just want to, it'll release a little bit of liquid when you save it, and you just want to mix it up before you eat it. But otherwise, this definitely lasts, if you know that, yeah, it lasts a couple days. So what I'm going to do now is put together my little charcuterie board. So what I do for this doesn't have to be for a special occasion. It's one of my favorite ways to eat a dinner or a meal. I have been a snacker since a very young age, so I now just call it charcuterie, and it's like an acceptable thing. So this is something you can just do for yourself. You can do to take outside for a picnic. Definitely quarantine friendly, doesn't have to be a social activity. So I like to have a couple different things on my charcuterie board. I love olives. Could eat a million olives. So I usually have one or two different kinds. You could put some pickled veggies on there. And then I have my veggie sticks. So I've got carrots, celery, cucumbers, and some radishes. And I cut these are fresh radishes from a local farmer. And I cut them the long way, so I have these nice little chips, which will also be a good dipper. And, okay, I'm getting nervous about my sweet potato toast. So let me go grab them before I build up my board. All right, these are gonna be hot, but they're good. Ooh. So the trick with making a pretty looking charcuterie board is to really scrunch things in there. Let me make sure you can see as much as possible. That's kind of all we got. There we go. So I have these different piles of veggies, and what I'm going to do is split them into different categories. So I don't put all my carrots in one place. I like to have some carrots here, some carrots over here, and that really fills up your board and spreads out your color so that it makes it look nice and pretty, even though you just kind of have all the same things. So I'm just doing like 3 groups of each veggie, and the other trick is to really pile it in high. So kind of get like a smaller container than or a smaller cutting board. You can just do this on a plate, whatever. But you really want to pack it in. It makes it look nice and full. And if you really want to be an Instagrammer, you can like put olives on top, or you could cover it with fresh herbs, but it's up to you. I think it's just pretty when it's all packed in, and there are a lot of options for me to crunch on. You can put some nuts on here. Definitely meats and cheeses, that's kind of the go-to. So I like to show an alternative. And I make things like my white bean dip, which some of you have seen, I'll put on here. Other stuff like that, or like the spiced pepitas are very good. So that's it. I've just built my little charcuterie board. I divided these up, so see how there's like orange everywhere, and the radishes are everywhere, and that just spreads out our color. And I really jammed things onto my cutting board to make it look nice and full. So yeah. Oh, somebody made the bean dip. I love it. Ooh, Sarah did. Okay. Whoop. And so then I didn't get a nice cute bowl out, but what I would do is just put my salmon salad in a bowl and give it a dip. So these have cooled a little bit, and they are solid. They're not floppy, so I can dip it right in there and hold on a dip. And what I like to do is add either a cucumber or a radish for like a little crunch action. You can put underneath, be fancier, but that's my favorite. So good. So I'm dipping, these are sweet potato toast. Sorry, I'm out of the frame now. So these are dry roasted sweet potatoes, no onion or salt, or no oil, olive oil or salt, just dry toasted, and then they stay kind of stable and crunchy. Yeah, they're great. So you can use these for the white bean dip. You can use these for guacamole. It's just, it was really hard for me at the beginning, especially to find crackers and other things like that wouldn't make me feel really sick. So I kind of discovered these, and I really love them. I love a good dip, and the number one thing about dip is to just have something to scoop it with. So highly recommend. So that is our easy dilly salmon salad, turning your canned salmon into a delicious treat. The recipe is on my website. I will post it, or I'll add it to the link in my bio. And then talk about veggie of the week for next week. So, this is one I'm excited about. We're going to be talking about onions. So we've got red onions, white onions, I can't remember the name of these, shallots, thank you, yellow, sweet onions. I'm going to be making my pickled onions. We're going to make guacamole and the pickled onions next week with a loaded sweet potato. I'm going to be talking about tips like the storage tip for the gas, onion getting gas off, give you tips on how to cut them without crying, and I'm most excited to show how to dice an onion and make that a much more efficient process, so we'll get Kian getting his knife skills together. So the next veggie of the week is onions, shallots, pickled red onions, grilled onions. We're going all over the board. So I look forward to chatting onions with you this week. Let me know if you have any dilly salmon salad questions. I'm about to go munch on this. I always love Sunday nights. I have like a luxurious meal at 8:30. The sweet potato chip recipe, no worries. I will send you the recipe. All you do is you cut them into slices. Don't dress them in anything. Just cut them up, put them on a sheet pan, and you can either put them in a toaster or on toast or on the oven at 415 until they get toasty. That's it. Nothing on them. If you put salt, they'll get kind of soggy, so you want them to be completely dry. All right, that concludes our Shelly's Sunday Kitchen. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll be posting all about onions. Ask me your onion questions, and I'll see you next Sunday. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.